Welcome to another episode of the Wild Strength Podcast. Today, my guest is Armando Martinez. He is the creator of the Bow Hitch, and we will talk more about that. But before we get started, Armando's walk-up song is Grinding All My Life by Nipsey Hussle. I feel like this is one.
All my life, I've been grinding all my life. I'm married to this guy. That's who I made my wife. Shout out down on her, told that bitch she probably right. But then that's the show. Not a stranger to the.
Okay, see, that's one of the few that I would say is like true walk-up song vibes. Other ones, I'm like, oh, this is a good song, but it's not really a walk-up song.
No, yeah, I could picture myself walking out to this for a fight, for a baseball game, for whatever. This is a good one.
Heck yeah, I love it. Well, cool. Like I said, my guest today is Armando Martinez. I'll let him introduce himself, and then, as always, we'll see where the conversation goes.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys for checking in here. My name is Armando Martinez. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and like Whitney said, I'm one of the inventors of the Bow Hitch. So the Bow Hitch is just a unique product that came into the archery industry about 5 years ago. My partner and I invented it together. We patented it. We did all the stuff from start to finish. And my background and my partners we're both firefighters. We're arson investigators to be exact. And so dipping into this world of business and really getting into the professional side of art. And when I say professional, the business side of archery, we still both suck at shooting, but it's been crazy. So I'm learning so much. Getting to do podcasts, getting to go to the shows and stuff has just been incredible. So if you guys haven't heard about us, we got the best community out there. Like our product is whatever, everybody's stuff is good. I'm not worried about that, but our community is, I would say, second to none because I'm sure we'll talk about some more stuff later, but if you're listening to this, you want to follow along and surround yourself with good people, you're in the right place.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was thinking kind of like before you hopped on at like when I first met you, and this just speaks to the kind of people that you surround yourself with. And obviously I'd heard about the Bow Hitch and I had heard about Armando with the Bow Hitch, but then you finally meet someone in person after hearing about him. And like Armando has the most like vibrant energy of like anyone I've ever met in like the hunting and outdoors space. And it's so cool to just be around people who are like that. And kind of like you mentioned, you're like, man, maybe I have a good product and like everyone has good things. But I think the people that you draw in and I have similar thoughts for my podcast is like, I don't care to have a big following. I don't care to have 1,000 or 1,000,000 listeners. Like if people listen, cool. But like the kind of people that I have on here, the kind of friends that I've made through it are second to none, kind of like you said. So I think that's really cool. So you said are you retired firefighter or still current?
I did. My partner's still working, but I retired. Actually, next week will be my 2-year anniversary. So I did 20 years there with Albuquerque Fire Department, 12 of them as an arson investigator. Amazing career, like super. I mean, you can't make this stuff up that we got to go do and see and be part of, and it was really cool.
And I'm sure like New Mexico gets really freaking hot. So I'm sure you just have like random fires that happen because of how hot it is.
Yeah, between the heat and the homeless, shit is burning all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine. That's too funny. Have you hunted all of your life? I don't know if I've ever asked you that before.
I have, yeah. Well, I mean, yes. I grew up, probably 8 or 9 or whatever. My dad bought me my first 22, and he would go hunting with my uncles, and they'd be walking around, and like a cool first story for a first ever hunt where I had my own gun. He bought me this tiny little single shot 22. I want to say it was like a Sears model or something like that. Like it's this tiny little thing, just perfect for a child. And so to keep me busy, he's like, all right, we're hunting rabbits. This is what you need to do. You need to walk around and find holes, and the rabbits will be in the hole. So he's got me walking around, chasing these holes around. And dude, so I'm like, Dad, I found one. So they run over there, and he's like, where's the rabbit? I'm like, well, you told me to find holes. I'm finding holes. So I did this a few times, and finally he's like, dude, don't call me unless you find a rabbit in a hole. And believe it or not, I found a hole that had this little tiny rabbit just up there staring at me like, oh shit, right? So he's looking up at me, so I yell at my dad, and he goes, "No, don't worry about it." I'm like, "Dad, there's a rabbit in the hole." He's like, "Well, shoot it." And I'm like, "Well, I can't cock the hammer on my gun." So he had to walk over. He cocked it. I shot my first rabbit. So that's kind of how it all started.
That's so funny. I kind of like that
Yeah.
you started with like hunting small game.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think that just to even get comfortable having a gun in your hand, or even if you're shooting a bow, like to get comfortable having some sort of weapon, some sort of killing agent, we'll call it, to kill something. Like I think starting small is probably a really good thing, especially as a kid. Like I didn't get
Yeah.
the opportunity to as a kid, but I can only imagine at 9 years old, you're like, oh my god, I have a gun in my hand. Like, what am I supposed to do with it?
Yeah. And you know what? It's such a different time now. Like at the time, I probably don't even think I have a gun in my hand. It was just like I'm hunting. Like this is natural. It's not a foreign concept. It's not weird to see somebody with a gun. Like I grew up with them around us all the time. So, it, I don't remember feeling like, hey, I have a gun. My dad gave me the talk and the safety talks and the muzzle this and like all the things you're supposed to know. So that was cool. But along those lines, starting small, it goes back to everything you and I'm sure you're the same way, but basics. Like our kids in sports, right? Like Layla, bro, you got to work on the basics. You don't need to do this fancy stuff. It's basics. Kobe Bryant, basics, lifting weights. You need to learn some basic movements before you can do anything else. Same thing with hunting. So I think you get your fundamentals by, shooting rabbits and squirrels or whatever it is you choose. So it's a good starting place.
Yeah, that and just like increasing the number of opportunities you have to get
Sure.
out there. Like I've mentioned a couple of times before on this podcast, but I'm from Texas and started hunting in Texas, and you can hunt hogs there year round. And so, like, it's obviously they're an invasive species. So it's something that most people want you to come over and just get them off of their properties.
Right.
So that's a really good opportunity if you live anywhere where there's hogs or rabbits, like you said. Like there's so many different smaller game opportunities where it is important to kind of just start small because I think everyone and I won't even lie, like I'm still a relatively new hunter. I'm going into my
Yeah.
third season, and like
Sweet.
chasing elk, chasing big deer, like that's what looks like that's what people want to do, right? But you go out there first time ever, you have an elk tag in your pocket, and you're not going to fill your tag most likely. So,
Yeah, well, yeah. Nobody shows up to the big leagues without working their way up. So,
yeah, sure.
that stage fright it'll get you.
And even just having like, yeah, I think that the comfortability of having whether it's a gun or a bow in your hand, it's even bigger because the second an animal is in front of you, whether it's a rabbit or a large mule deer, like you kind of get the, we'll call it buck fever, but even if
Mhm.
it's not a deer, you just get this like raging sense of emotion. Your heart rate goes up, you can't breathe anymore, and you're like, oh my god, what do I do?
Uh,
And whether that's like I've met some incredibly experienced hunters who have hunted all their life and they still have that feeling.
that's great.
And
Yeah.
it's just the nature of like what we understand what we're doing, right? Like taking an animal's life isn't what we love to do, but it's how we provide for ourselves. It's how we put food on the table, and it's how we basically fall in line with the American model of conservation as well.
Yeah. No, there's so many great things you just said there. It's part of like for me, it's part of my heritage, right? Like I grew up doing this. Like my kids are gonna do this. Should they choose to. My daughter hunts. My son likes going hunting with us. He hasn't killed anything. He's not interested in that yet, but he goes with us. He finds us the animals. He helps. So it's But the way I'm able to bring it back is every time we make a meal at home, I thank the person who shot it at that table. Like, hey, we're eating oryx. Tonight we're eating deer, or this is whatever we're eating, and I say, something cool about that hunt. Like that was a great hunt. I remember whatever. Remember when I fell. Remember when you cried because you were hungry, or I just so like there's a billion good memories that come from each hunt. So it is if it's the American way of life, then that's just one other icing on the cake for living in the best country ever. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's super cool because even I haven't gone as far as to like reflect on the specific hunt. But anytime that I am cooking an animal that I have harvested, it's like, wow, this is so cool that I
Yeah,
did this for myself. It's like understanding
yeah,
and appreciating the effort that went into that, right? Like
right.
whether it was a backcountry style hunt and you were successful that way, whether you were sitting a blind and you were successful that way, but
Mhm.
then you skin it, you quarter it, you process it, and everything from literal like farm to table is such a cool process to see.
Yes.
You have just so much more of an appreciation for the food that you're eating at the end of the day, which I think that's super cool that
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I love it. I love everything about it.
There's that. So you mentioned your kids are into hunting. I think that's really cool to kind of
Yeah.
have someone who can teach kids to grow up and do this thing. Obviously, you're not going to force it on them. What has kind of their experience been, and like, do they go and tell all their like friends? Do you know? Is that something that they're excited, or is it something that they're still kind of like figuring out? They're hesitant about.
Yeah, my daughter, like my kids are polar opposite, like a lot of other kids out there. Like it's ridiculous. My daughter will talk to she'll go talk to the wall because she thinks the wall's listening. Like she's just the most vibrant personality, and beautiful smile, and she just, out there. So she'll talk to anybody about anything. But
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool to see a young lady, pretty cute little thing that shows up and is playing volleyball, and then you start talking about killing shit, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I killed this and I killed that, and me and my daddy go hunting," and she puts on some camo, and it's like, dude, who are you? Like, I could see her looking like you, and in a few years, it's like, hey, this girl's just owning it, like,
That's cool.
it shouldn't be out of place. It was out of place for a long time, but women in the industry are making are carving out their own place, which is great. And so I know she's gonna grow up doing that, and she's very comfortable with it.
Nice.
But she's been fortunate also that I'm pretty experienced, so
Yeah.
it's not like we're going out and
Figuring out
reinventing.
together.
We're not reinventing the wheel. We're like, okay, baby, we're gonna go do this shit, and it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So she's pretty spoiled.
Yeah, that's cool. I think it definitely helps to be, and even for me getting into it, like I sought out people who were experienced, who knew
Yeah.
what they were doing, who had years of hunting under their belt. Because I just know this from my career, and really not even my career, but like any career. If you're new and young in the field, when you first get into your field, you're seeking mentorship, you're seeking help, you want to learn not all of the things, you'll never learn everything, but you want to learn as much as you can. And so that was my mindset kind of going into like hunting and the outdoors was like it had always been something that I was interested in. I just never had like my dad and grandpa passed when I was younger, so I didn't have them to kind of follow in their footsteps. And I would meet people, and I'm like, "You're way more experienced than I. Like, can I? How many questions can I ask you? How much of your time can I borrow? Like, are you willing? Can I even just come? Like in Texas, it was like, can I just sit a blind with you? Like, I don't
Yes.
even have to have anything in my hand. I don't have to have a gun. I don't have to have my bow in my hand. But, like, I just want to sit in the blind, and whether it's like someone who guides and they have clients or whatever, like, I just want to be in the surroundings of someone who knows what they're doing so that I can learn that way because yeah, you can definitely go out there and watch a million YouTube videos and read all the books and listen to all the podcasts and I've done that too, but
Hmm.
really nothing beats being out there and to be out there on your own for someone who's never done that before, like you're not really learning that much, I don't feel like.
Yeah, you know what? I actually think the more it comes out is kind of a false sense of security. Just because every situation is different. Like, there's some brilliant people, there's professional callers, there's people that kill stuff all the time, and they are giving you advice that worked in that one particular situation for them. But
Yeah.
every time you go out, I just think people need to, you have to experience it. It's you know kind of like in professional sports, you slow the game down. Like going into a fire, your first fire, I'm shitting all over myself. Like, oh my god, this is hot. I'm freaking out. Like I'm in a fire truck. Like what do I do? I forgot how to. Like it's just insane what's going through your mind. But as you go through reps, and 5 years and 10 years and 15 years later, you walk into the same room and you're just like, all right, cool, cool, cool. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. We're on the radio, we're taking care of other people. Like everything slows down. So the more reps you get, kind of like you said, going with another guide or hunter or a friend, whoever, you always want to be with somebody better than you, because that's when you're going to learn. Um, that's the only way. I mean, if your only opportunity is to go with somebody of equal skill set, then so be it. But if something, if you luck into something and you're walking in with bad wind or like for, I don't know, like a lot of crazy shit happens in the mountains, but you could get negative reinforcements, right? Like I did this and it worked, so now I'm going to do this forever. But it's actually the totally wrong thing to do. Like a blind squirrel will find a nut, at some point in time. But you need to surround yourself with people that have more skill and that are better than you. In all walks of life. If you're the smartest person in the room, you need to find a new room,
Yeah.
so kudos to you for reaching out, and most people that are secure in what they do are the ones you want to learn from. It's the people that are on the fence that are like on their way up and kind of learning that that have more of an ego and that think they're better, and don't want to share that knowledge. So when you find an old crusty, somebody who, hey man, if I could teach you everything I know, then I'm successful. Like I'm doing a good thing. So that's what you're looking for. But yeah, the YouTube stuff, all of it's great. You can learn how to call, you can learn how to potentially do a lot of tactics, but until you're out there, until you feel the wind, or because your topography is going to be different, your
Yeah.
state's going to be different, the animals are going to react different. So you have to learn for yourself how to do it, and the only way to do it is by reps.
Yeah, I love everything you just said because I couldn't agree more. Just always being with someone who knows more than you, who is better than you, and in all walks of life, like you said, like
Yeah,
not even just in hunting or whatever that is, like to always just surround. And that was I always say like with the podcast, like I always have people on here who know way more than I do, and selfishly so that like I can learn and ask
yeah.
questions, but also like my passion is to educate. So I hope that at
Hmm.
least one person listens to each episode and like learn something from it. But yeah, that's kind of my goal with this. But also, yeah, there's getting out with different people and even just like hunting different game animals, adding more tools to your toolbox at the end of the day, because kind of like you said, each kind of every, if you're hunting different states, it's going to be different. If you're hunting different animals, it's going to be different. So, if you've only ever hunted a whitetail out east and then you finally get the chance to come out and hunt elk in the west, maybe there are some things that could help you, but the terrain is going to be very different. You're doing more spot and stock. You're not really sitting a stand, whereas there's a lot of stands sitting out there, which is that's fine. Like that's how you hunt whitetail out there, right?
Hmm.
So it's like I think learning, hunting more animals, increasing, like I said, increasing the number of opportunities that you have, not even just chasing one specific animal, but different animals, and adding more tools to your toolbox. And even just having conversations with people. Yes, getting out there and doing it helps a lot. But any opportunity I get to sit down and ask someone about their hunt and like what they did, and just kind of learn that way is also a really good opportunity. But yeah, I've recognized as well the people who are like right there in the middle. They've been doing it maybe 5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
They've got experience. They've got a couple big bulls or big deer, big bucks under their belt, and they're like, I'm not teaching them anything. Like I'm not sharing
yes,
spots. I don't want anyone to go out there with me. And it's like, really, dude, come on.
yeah. It's crazy. And it's that way pretty much, and I've only had a couple of career, the fire department was my first career. I started at 22, but it's the same way. You come in and you're the rookie and everybody shits on you. And, you get 2, 3 years in and all of a sudden you know everything and a rookie comes in and shit all over the rookie, and you go through that progression and then you're the tough guy for, 5 or 10 years. And then after a while you realize I got to teach these kids, like, you know, um, I don't know everything. At that point in time, you realize you don't know everything, but you know how to handle situations. And everything is situational dependent. So you cannot walk into a situation and say, oh, this bull did this. I have to challenge bugle because you heard that. I have to estrus whine. You don't have to do anything. You have to respond to the situation that you're in. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, that is very firefighter of you to say, because
Yeah.
exactly like you've learned all your life to respond accordingly to the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
And same thing in hunting. I think if you do just become a victim of watching all these YouTube videos and hearing what other people are doing and then trying to be like, okay, I heard this, I'm going out now, I'm going to apply this to my hunt. And then you find that like that probably isn't going to work. Like,
Yeah.
and you're going to make mistakes, especially as someone new. Like last year, I think every single time I went out, there was a mistake that I made. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm going to get myself grace. This is the first time I've ever been in the mountains chasing
Hmm.
elk. I'm going to learn from this. Next year, I'm going to make sure if I'm in a similar situation, I'm not going to do the same thing. But even taking it, like taking those moments as learning opportunities, right? Like, don't beat yourself up. Don't think that you're never going to figure it out. Like, learn from the times that you made those mistakes too.
That's it. You have to, you have to give yourself grace. I love telling people that, like, because we put so much pressure on ourselves, as a father, as a husband, as a, employee, as a business owner, for everything that we do, we give ourselves more pressure than anybody else. So you do have to give yourself grace. And when you're on the mountain, like, it's going to look steeper when you're pissed off and when you're mad at yourself for whatever reason,
That's for sure.
and you're going to be more tired and you're going to be like, oh, I'm thirsty, oh, my foot hurts, oh, like, you will find a reason to complain, and it's easy to compound those. um, so you have, like, hey, cool, what did I learn? And then once you figure out, I did this, I'm not going to do that again. There's so many elk out there, people, like, there's so many deer, there's so many, like, these professional hunters, as a challenge to them, the people that you're watching on YouTube that have the ability to, so two things here, but the ability, people that have the ability to hunt at unlimited days, they can go to a new country with no deer in it and shoot a 180 buck or whatever, like, because they have learned these lessons, they're taking their time and they're being patient. Um, they make more mistakes than you or I will make because they have more opportunities. Like Brian Barney, I listened to him the other day. He goes, "Oh, I messed up on this stock because of whatever." That dude is a savage. Like, he does nothing but put animals in the dirt with perfect shots all the time. And he's talking about the mistakes that he made on this hunt. He goes, "I kind of blew it on this because I did whatever." It takes reps, and and he says, you know what, so I had to put together a new game plan and go after him again the next day. The last ball doesn't count, like, it's what's in front of you. So that's a huge thing. And another thing is, especially for newer hunters that do watch YouTube and listen to to the podcast and are trying to absorb information, a lot of the people that you're watching that are paying to get on top of YouTube and on TikTok and all these other things, they literally only hunt. So you and I mean, I don't know what your schedule is. I can't hunt all the time. I would have a house full of big shit, but I don't, I have 5 days, I have 10 days, I have, I'm in a weekend warrior it or go out when I can. But so you can't, like, just be confident in yourself, people. Like, don't compare yourself to anybody, because you are you. Like, you're the best version of, be the best version of yourself. But you're you. Nobody else could do you. I can't do you. You can't do me. I can't do, Whitney. Like, it's just, be confident in yourself is, like, something that a lot of people don't have. I think my mom called me handsome too many times, so she ruined that for me. So I'm pretty confident. My daughter's pretty confident, but like, only you could do you. So don't compare yourself to anybody else that you see, because it doesn't matter what they're wearing, what they're shooting, like, all that shit. It doesn't matter. Like, go do you.
Yeah, I think that's great. And yeah, kind of to your point of, you see on social media, and for new hunters, you see all these people who have been doing it forever. Either A, like you said, they have the time, they can spend a whole 30 days out there. And I've got a good friend who has that luxury. And
Hmm.
that's just like, at first I was like, oh, I'm jealous. Like, that's not fair. But that's the life that he's created for himself. Like, he
Yeah.
has built a job and a schedule so that he is able to spend as much time out there as he can. He's not like a full time paid professional hunter, but he has created a work schedule to where it allows him to be out there at least during the season as much as he can. And it's like, okay, you know what? That's the life that you wanted. You created that life for you. I think that's great. But or you have the people who are professional hunters and they get paid to go out there and chase these animals and put one down. And obviously, they have as much time as humanly possible, like we all wish that we
Hmm.
had. But to your point, if you only have a weekend, if you only have 5 to 10 days, like, especially if you don't even have the time to get out there and scout before all of that happens. Because that, like, if you're out east coming out west, you can't come scout every weekend leading up to season. So you're really relying on e-scouting and hopefully maybe intel that you're getting from some other people who've maybe been in similar areas. But I think social media does a really bad job of making it look easy and
Yeah.
making it look like every time you go out there, you're going to put something down when, yeah, like realistically, the average Joe hunter like you and I, who do it for yeah, putting food on the table, filling the freezer, and all of that. We're extremely fortunate and happy when we are successful because it doesn't come as often as it does for these other people. And that's not to say that those people who have all that time aren't grateful for their opportunity to get out there. Like I
Yeah.
said, that's the life that they've created for themselves. But it's unrealistic to believe that it's going to happen for you every single time. And I think that social media makes it look that way.
Yeah, you know, like my walk-up song, "Grinding All My Life." Like you have to grind, you know. And these people that are doing it, that you see all the time, like kudos to them, because it is a full-time job all the time. It doesn't pay well. Like, you know, you might see Cam Haines and maybe two or three other people that get paid well to do it. Other than that, you know, these people are just grinding to make it happen and to pursue, you know, their dream and whatever, or pursue whatever they're pursuing. But to obviously they're working towards a goal in the outdoor industry, but it's hard, man. It's there's not as much money as people think, and you know, very few people have big sponsorships that are just like, yeah, I'd like to send you to Africa. Like that doesn't happen all the time.
Wouldn't that be nice? I know I
Yeah,
was
that would be
thinking,
nice.
like, man, the dream would be to be in the outdoor space and like hunting all the time, but it doesn't pay. So it's either you're out there all the time and just like living off of minimal, which some people are okay
Hmm.
with that. Or you've got your 9 to 5, your week job, and you just use your PTO as you can to get out there and do. And I think there's nothing wrong with either of those options.
Yeah, yeah. There's a like there's a hybrid kind of. Cody Ridge talks about it where he says, you know, build your life around what you want to do. Build your work around what you want to do. You know, so I'm going to do this job in order to create these opportunities. You know, so don't, you know, I don't know. Everybody has a unique situation, family, you know, dynamic. So I won't preach on that, but there's a way to get, which if you want to do something, I promise you can do it.
Yeah, I had a conversation with someone about that before. Is like we were talking about the concept of like just having oh, what's it called, like your bucket list hunts,
Hmm.
and like bucket list places you want to go, but bucket list things you want to do. And like to me, the concept of a bucket list is wild because if I want to do something, I'm gonna do it. Right? Like, yeah,
That,
I
that,
might not be able to do it this year, but like in the next like 1 to 3 years, like that is on my plan and I'm getting it done. And to your point, because I'm going to find a way to do it, whether that's I have to add an additional like night job to have
mhm.
the funds to be able to do it, or if I need to maybe like get a new job that allows me a little bit more time off to be able to do that, like whatever that looks like, if I want to do something, I'm going to find a way to do
Yeah,
it. And I think that's just how like that's how you should live life, right? Like not even just for hunting, but like life is incredibly short, and I unfortunately know that all too well. So I think, yeah, if there's anything in life, whether it's a hunt or a vacation or a new job that you want to try, like just go freaking do it because you never know when you might lose the opportunity to be able to do
yeah.
something like that.
Well said, a billion percent. Like if you want to make something a priority, you can. It's up. It's all right there. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, I would agree. I couldn't agree more. But I want to talk about the Bow Hitch. Obviously, you
Okay.
and your business partner are the creators of the Bow Hitch. Where did kind of this idea? I mean, I imagine the idea comes from like carrying your bow sucks. That's kind of the
That,
catchphrase
that's
there.
that's our slogan. Yeah, that's it.
So is that where you just kind of one day hunting and you're like, man, how can I like carry my bow in a different way where it's not in my hand? Like, kind of what was the inception of all of that?
Very much that. Carrying your bow sucks. You know, we've been doing it for years, and I bought all the slings. I bought every contraption that's out there to try to help alleviate that problem. Um, they all have a purpose, and they can all work for one reason or another. But nothing is made for hunting. When you're actively hunting, you can't use any carrying device. So that was kind of the goal, to figure out what that was going to be like. How can we still hunt have our bow available and access it when we need to shoot. So it was we're basically only on our second idea of it. It's actually our first idea. The concept came from a buckle, being buckled into the bow, but the bow was being buckled in to a strap, and you would hear it snap, and it
Mhm.
was carried kind of, it wasn't parallel like ours is, nice and level. It was at an angle, and you have to unsnap it, and it was loud, and the concept was phenomenal, but the design was inefficient. So, like most things, I'm looking at the box down here to my right because that box has the napkin that I drew it on.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Just downstairs on my kitchen table, I drew it up and had a really cool like thought, like, hey man, if this is the problem, dude, and I'm so untalented, like any of the arts, anything, like I can't sing, I can't sign my name twice the same way, like I can't draw, I'm so ungifted. And so I drew this ugly ass drawing on this napkin, and but I got the concept down. Like, this is what we need to do in order to make it work. And man, so I ordered a few pieces of material that I thought I would need, and a couple weeks later, I went into the garage and hammered out the first one with a grinding wheel and a piece of sheet metal, and I got my bow and kind of did some pilot holes, kind of like, eyeballing on my sight, and I made one, and I took it on an elk hunt, and my buddies are like, bro, what is
What is
that?
this?
Like, that
Yeah.
is awful. Like, what are you doing? And but man, as I started using it, I was like, this thing really works really, really well, But I thought I was convincing myself, that, the best analogy is like the ugly baby, like everybody thinks their baby's beautiful, and people always tell you, you can have an ugly ass kid, but I'm not going to tell you. So like, I'm going to be like, hey, your baby's beautiful. He looks just like you. But it's an ugly kid. So I really had that complex with the Bow Hitch. I was like, I think I have an ugly kid here. Like, you just don't know, right? I never invented
Right.
anything. It was a foreign concept to me to ask somebody, hey, can you give me your opinion of this thing and how it works? And we were batting like 1,000. And everybody's like, bro, this thing is cool. I really like it. So I convinced myself that we had an ugly kid. And I was like, so I had to start reaching out to people I didn't know. And I was asking people on social media, hey, would you mind trying this? I just find some killers. And, and reach out to them and say, hey, we invented this thing. I'd love for you to try it. You seem like you hunt a lot. I didn't know how to use social media. I never had social media. I hated social media. So that was a difficult thing, to reach out to a stranger, to be like, hey, you look like you know what you're doing. Here's one of 50 that I have. So yeah, entrepreneurship is crazy, but we kept getting good feedback. And so I was like, well, maybe if all these random people are saying it's actually pretty cool, I think it's cool. Like, I'm a pretty basic, as long as it functions, let's go to work. Um, so we had the concept, man, and my cousin has a 3D printer. He's a computer nerd. So he told me he would draw it up on a CAD for me. So I sent him some dimensions of the napkin. I wrote them out, and I said, it's about this and this. He goes, well, come to my house. So by the time I got to his house, he 3D printed one, and we made some changes while I was there. 3D printed me another one. I was like, bro, this is it. And
Yeah.
that's basically like where we're at now. We've made a few improvements and changes, but that's kind of the journey.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I think, yeah, same. I am not creative at all. Like, I have no creative brain. When it came to even like building my logo, I had to reach out to a friend. Like, I went and played around on this like website that I found. I was creating different things, and she's not a graphic designer, but like does a lot with it on her own. And I had sent it to her, and she was like, "What is this?" It's like, I don't know. It makes sense in my head.
It's
Have
upside down.
like, it makes sense in my head. And she was like, there's so much that goes into a logo, and she's like, it doesn't have to be as extravagant as you think that it needs to be. And she's like, but it needs to kind of like tell a story. And ended up, we kind of came up with the one that I have. But I remember like I was trying to just put everything into it, add everything, like do all this stuff, and to me, that was creative. The more that I added to it, the more creative I was being.
Hmm.
And she was like, no, and kind of like you said, simple always works. No matter what aspect of life you're thinking of, but especially when it comes down to like hunting, like we like simple, we like small and compact, we like things that weigh a little bit less, we like things that make life a little bit easier for us
Yeah.
whenever we're in the backcountry and we have a million other things that we're worrying about. Like simple always
Hmm.
works. So I think that's really cool. What is the like business? So you went from a firefighter to like starting a business and being an entrepreneur. Is that something that you had in your playing cards, or is that just like?
No, I had no idea. I grew up. My mom has a restaurant. Today's actually their 25-year anniversary. So
Oh,
I grew up in the restaurant business.
okay.
You know, since I was in middle school, they would take me on weekends and drop me off and be like, "Hey, go clean some tables." So I grew up in the service industry.
That's
So
it.
I think that plays a big part into why when you see us out there at the trade shows and stuff, it's really easy to talk to people and to communicate and to be very customer service oriented. So going from that to the fire department, well, in between there, I did some construction. So, learn hard, I did framing and then I did heating and cooling and then I got into the fire department. So I never in a million years thought I would have something that we do just because I was a stupid 22-year-old kid. Like I wasn't thinking, I thought when I retired, I would be retired. Little did I know. So, entrepreneurship wasn't anything that I had really planned on. It wasn't something that I studied. I didn't go to school. I finished my degree when I was in the department because I was trying to promote to captain. And if you got an associate's degree, they gave you 2 extra points on your final score on your test. So I went
Nice.
to school while I was in the while I was in the department. For our fire investigation in our department, they made us go to the police academy. So I was a dual commission law enforcement and firefighter. And so like 80% of my job was law enforcement the last, several years. But because of the fire police academy, they gave me a bunch of credits towards an associate's. So I was like, oh shit, I'm close. So I finished my associate's degree before the captain's test, and it helped. Those 2 points made a big difference.
Nice.
But that was schooling I had to get. I didn't. Like I said, I'm ungifted. I'm not a smart dude. So the schooling was not on my horizon.
Yeah. No, I think that's super cool too. And to be honest, I think maybe like everyone's product is different, kind of like you said earlier. But because I find that the people who went to school, they got a business degree, they got their marketing degree, whatever that is, they studied entrepreneurship. I oftentimes feel like those people are less genuine about it, right? Because they learned all of the hard skills that maybe are important, right? Like I'm not going to say they're unimportant, but they don't learn like you learned all of the soft skills, being around people, being in the service industry, going up, and like to me that's what sells. Like with my background as a strength coach, it is like yes, it's important to know the x's and o's of training. It's important to know like how you can progress someone and get them bigger, faster, stronger, whatever. But if that person doesn't like me as a human being, they're not going to show up. And maybe they show up, but they're not going to listen to me. They're not going to put in effort. It's not going to be an intentional training session for them. So like if I'm not doing my job as a human and as like a good person, then like my job itself is pointless. And so kind of to your point, I think all of the soft skills end up like maybe it starts a little slower. I've had this conversation with Joel Rather, I believe you know who that is. And
Yeah, yeah.
he's a mentor and like good friend of mine, and we see in coaching and in business the best people, the best humans, like you said, you have this amazing community, oftentimes are a little bit slower to get really big and to blow up and to become popular because they are more focused on those relationships that they're building, and quality relationships take time to build. Versus if you sell your soul to the product that you're trying to put out there and you don't build these relationships, like you might get big really fast because you end up maybe you have the funding to get big really fast, but it doesn't last very long either. So I think
Yeah.
if you're looking to be in there for the long haul, you're looking to have a product that people really like and they want to support forever. Like the way you're doing it is the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I've since, since we started the Bow Hitch, have really learned and taken in everything I can on entrepreneurship and building a business. And And that's exactly like you nailed it. Like it's all relationships is all it is. Like the way I see it when I'm even at these trade shows and TAC and MAP and all these other acronyms, like there's some amazing people that come up, but I'm showing them our product. I'm not selling you shit. Like this is what we have, this is what it does. If you like it, great. Like I would love for you to have one because you see value in it. I'm not gonna convince you to buy it. Like I would rather you not buy it because if I convince you to buy something, you're going to find a reason to not like it. If
Mm-hmm.
you can see the value in the product, then you're going to say, man, this is definitely worth what I paid for it. Like, I'm finding a value in this product. This is helping me not carry my bow. Like, I don't have to put my bow in the dirt every time I stop. Like, there's a lot of benefits to why this works for me and why I think this was a good value, at $50. So, you know, I could have sold it to them for $30, but if they didn't love it, they're gonna find a way to bitch about it. Like, oh, dude, $30, this thing sucks. Like, I'll just carry my bow. Like, yeah, whatever. I mean, whatever. So we don't sell anything. Another thing that I'll follow up on that you mentioned is, people are buying you. They're not buying the product. They're not. They're gonna buy our hats. They're gonna buy our whatever we have, which is what I'm learning. And I'm not saying that people are gonna do that now, but I think eventually, because of the relationships we have and the community we're building, like they're gonna be, Team Bow Hitch, Simply Savage Solutions, for life because we do cool shit. And when they see somebody else with, you know, a Simply Savage hat, they can be like, all right, what's up, dude? Like, we're on the same team here. We're on the same page. It's kind of like old school. People would see another person with a camel hat. You walk into a room and you're like, I don't know this dude, but no, bro. Like, yeah, this shit goes along with. I'll find you. We'll chat in a while. So it's just it's really really cool that they're buying. Ultimately, they're buying you as a trainer because they're confident. They could watch YouTube and learn how to do whatever they want to do. Like and I'm not trying to discount what you're doing. I'm just saying when
Yeah.
you have a client, like they're buying Whitney, like they're saying, hey, Whitney has something to offer, you know, um, and that's really cool. When people are like, hey man, what's up? I've seen you or heard about you or whatever, like that warms my heart because it knows that the grind is paying off and they're buying into what we're trying to put out there.
Yeah, and
It's
even to
pretty cool.
your point earlier of like there's maybe multiple different ways to connect your bow to
Yeah.
your body or your pack or whatever, and there's one person is going to think one is better than the other depending on their experience with it, depending on their interactions with the sales team or the person who's selling it or whatever. And kind of same in my work is that like I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm not creating anything new when I write a training program. As much as coaches like to think that they do, I'm not creating anything new here. Like there's a phrase that's like the methods are many, but the principles are few. Like there are many different ways to skin a cat, and whatever works for you and whatever you like is what you're going to do the most and most often, and what you're going to stick to. And same thing, I have to like compliment you on this whenever you're going like at TAC or MAF or all these different like expos and events and stuff like that. Like you say this, but like I can speak to it too about yourself. Is you walk up to your booth and like you're just talking to people, right? Like you're not even maybe I don't think I've heard you even really talking about the Bow Hitch specifically, unless if they're asking you questions about it. But then there's other booths or other tents or whatever that you walk up to, and either they're all just like sitting back in a chair like this because they know they have a good product and they know the product sells, and so they're like, you know what, like we make enough money, I don't have to say anything. I'm just sitting back and relaxing. If they want it, they do. If they don't, they don't. And like I'm really big on like people. Like you said, there's been like I will buy a product from a person, whether or not it's a product that I want or have any use for. I will buy it because that's a good person and I support their business. And like that's just how I feel like the world should work at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
But yeah, or you have the booths that you go up to and it's just immediately they're selling the product. Here's what this product has to offer. And kind of to your point, it's like well, what if I get this? Like, yes, you just told me all the X's and O's of the product and all the pros of the product, but like, you didn't tell me all the cons of the product. So, like, what if I get this?
Yeah,
I spend this money on it and I'm using it because that happened to me last year with a pack that I got. I was like just sold every good thing about the pack, and they ended up giving me like a really good deal on it. And I wore it for a season, and I absolutely freaking hated it. It was not a good pack to have. So I now have a new Kafaru pack. Shout out to Kafaru. I love it. And multiple people told me to get Kafaru, and I was like, oh, but this one. But like I've heard such good things about this one, and here I am spending money on another pack this year. But yeah, I think the way in which you interact with people when they walk up to you in the booth is vastly different than any other vendor that you walk up to, and I think that's really cool.
yeah. Thank you. We really try hard with it, and dude, people just come and take pictures, and hey man, they ask questions about, just it's crazy what people pay attention to. I'll forget I posted something, and they'll come and ask a follow up question on it, or be like, hey, I'm Harry Hunter 27, and I'm like, dude, it's funny because it's all handles now, right? Like, uh, so it's really crazy. So they have to tell me their handle and who they are, and sometimes I can remember what they're talking about. But our booth is really cool. Like, it's always good energy. This year we got. Did you go to Hunt Expo last year in Utah?
No, but I'm hoping to go this year.
Have you ever been?
No,
Bananas, bro.
that's what I hear.
Bananas. So last year was our first year there. We got in, and we had a 10 by 10 booth, and it was so busy, and our booth design wasn't great, like our layout. We really limited ourselves as to the amount of people we could have in and out and stuff like that. So we learned a lot by, you have to do it. It's reps, So we got in our first rep and we learned a lot, but we moved. So we're going to be in a new section. We got a 10 by 20 booth this year. So, yeah, you go and you want to hang out. Our booth will be jamming just because we have the best people. They'll come and like they walk up and they're like, hey man, why don't you go eat lunch? Why don't you go for a while? We'll run the booth. I have probably a dozen people who have already offered to go help run the booth. That way we could go lead. So it's cool. It's thank you for noticing that because we do put a lot, you take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And yeah, like you said, same thing with hunting. Like you got to get the reps in with
Hmm.
setting up pickup and having all of that. And yeah, I go to the different tack events, the expos, and all of that. And I just end up hanging out with the vendors that I know. I'll
Hmm.
show up at this tent and I'll sit there for a little bit and I'll talk. And then if I feel like they're getting busy, I'm like, all right, I'll get out of here and I'll go to the next one and
Yeah,
just like vendor hop because I just go to hang out with my friends now. And that's what's been really cool about getting into like this space is yes, like there's not always good people, but I've been fortunate, and I think that like I'll humbly say this like speaks to the person that like I am and that you are. Like when you attract the people that you want in your life when you show up as the people that you want in your life.
yeah,
And I think that's been super cool for me in this space. And similar thing happens like with strength and conditioning and all of that in that part of my career. Like same thing, I've met some really cool people. But yeah, like kind of like I said, like the people come into your life when you show up as those people. And I think that just speaks highly to once again kind of like what you're doing and going out there and meeting these people. I know instantly, like within the first 10 minutes of like talking to someone at a vendor booth or whatever, like all right, you're my people, or you're not my people so much. I'm
yeah,
not gonna spend that much time here.
yeah. Good talk. Yeah, but I got this. I got to take a call. Yeah,
Someone's calling.
yeah, yeah. And I like I said earlier, like I love not selling. I'm there to show you what we have. Like that's really when I can keep that in my mind. It really kind of I mean, when people walk by, don't get me wrong, I'm trying to show the product. So people walk by me at the booth. I'm like, hey man, let me show you how this works. You heard of the Bow Hitch? So I'm doing that. But let me just show you how it works. Once you see it, oh yeah, man, thanks. Cool, bro. Good luck this year. Catch you later as they're walking by. It's all good. We'll catch you next time. Because I truly feel eventually the majority of people who are say no today are going to say yes tomorrow or maybe the year after because now they know that they don't have to carry their bow and
Hmm.
who wants to carry their bow, so eventually it's going to be pretty bananas.
Yeah, it's the concept of like, oh, there's something that exists, but like I don't need that. I carry my bow, I'm fine. And then you're out there carrying it, and you're like, man,
Sucks.
this,
Yeah.
this sucks. That's so funny.
Yeah, so every day at the shows it gets better because day one everyone's a tough guy. Day two I get a few people. Day three everybody's like, bro, I should have bought this Friday or Thursday. So yeah.
That's too funny. The last thing I kind of want to touch on, and this is something you did earlier in the year, and I caught the end of it, is the random acts of kindness
Oh
thing that you
man.
did. Is this the first year that you've done that? And then B, what kind of sparked that?
It's the coolest thing ever. And one of the best compliments that I got was from Brandon Waddell from Mountain Archery Fest. I don't know if you met him before, but he's the first person to ever buy a bow hitch. And
Nice. Yeah.
so him and I kind of messaged when I was learning how to use Instagram. I had 200 or 300 followers. He was one of them. And I met him at a different 3D shoot in New Mexico, boa 3D shoot. And we set up our booth and it was terrible. We had ordered like our canopy and like all the goodies that come with the like a canopy package. And so we ordered it and we're like, lady, listen, it has to be here by Thursday because we have a show on Friday. It'll be there, sir. It will be there. Cool. So we're expecting to get this great package to show up. And the train derails from a mudslide. So we don't get it. So we show up to this 3D shoot. We take our table. It's a busted ass table. We had to beg the lady at Walgreens to print us out a Bow Hitch thing. And it was like a little two by three maybe print out. It was awful. We had it taped to the wall. It was awful. And so anyway, I finally met Brandon in person over there, and he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey man, how's it going?" I said, "Oh, like this guy had, he's the man. Like he's very charismatic. He's great on the internet, like on the phone, whatever." So he comes up, he's like, "Dude, what's up?" I say, "Hey, what's up, man? How are you? Nice to meet you in person." And he's like, "Are you selling the shit out of these?" And I was like, "I've never sold one." And he was like, "What?" I was like, "Dude, I've never sold a Bow Hitch." And he goes, "Well, I'm gonna be your first sale."
Nice.
And so I sold him a Bow Hitch, and it's just been so good. Like I forget you asked me about the random acts of kindness. I forget why I was trying to tie that in, but Brandon bought our first one. I don't know why I was bringing it in, but he was an important part of it. But random acts of kindness actually started 2020. It was everybody was mad at each other, like the world sucked. Like, dude, people were just pissed just because you have a God's country for our heroes. Like, who could be mad at that, right? Like
Yeah.
the saying, the phrase, the camo, the people,
Yeah.
that says a million words. That company, what they're doing, like it's so great. And still somebody would be like, "That's stupid. I hate you for that. I'm on the other side of the fence. I only, well, I only fish. I don't like you." It's like people were mad at each other for no reason, and I hated it. And my brother had given me a spotting scope, and he told me, "Hey, bro, like, I got this scope. It was a new Vortex." He goes, "I want to give it to you. You just do whatever you want to with it." He goes, "If you want to sell it or raffle it and try to get followers and do a giveaway." His wife was on his Instagram. He's like, "She said there's always giveaways if you get followers. So if you want to do that." I was like, "Well, thanks, bro. Appreciate it. This is a nice spotting scope." And so he goes, "Yeah, it's yours. Do whatever you want to with it." My little brother, my baby. And and so I sat on it for a few months and I didn't know what I was going to do. And then kind of just had a thought. I said, "You know what? Let's start the year off right. January's coming up. It's a whole new year. 2021, this is what we're going to do. We're just going to do a random acts of kindness. All you have to do to get entered in to win this spotting scope is to do something kind for somebody. That's it. Put it in the comments. There's a comment in there. Whitney says, "Hey, I had this kid come up and he was, trying to jump over a box and he didn't make it. So, hey, I stopped and I invited him to come work out with me for a week and gave him some pointers." Like, that's really cool, right? Like, that's a random act of kindness that you didn't have to do. And you just put that in the comments. And cool, now you're entered in to win the spotting scope. Well,
So
from
cool.
from that, people started reaching out to me and they're like, "Dude, Brandon, I want to give you some passes to math." Okay, now I have a spotting scope and 5 passes to go to math. Then my local archery shop says, "Hey, dude, I want to give you I told them what I was doing and they said, "Yeah, swing by the shop. We have something we want to give you." So I'm like, "All right, cool. because I asked him, I said, hey, maybe a hat or a shirt or, some, and I show up and he gives me a brand new bow. So I'm like, dude, this is insane. Like, and it started growing. So, a random act of kindness is all it is. Like, it was just a really cool thought to get people to do something cool for other people. Um, so the first year, I don't know, I think we had 50 or 60, I don't remember the numbers. I should write them down some point, but, entrance and kind deeds, right? But you don't know how far that ripple effect takes place. And so the first year was amazing. I gave everybody their stuff. I had, I don't know, a dozen, 15 prizes, something like that. Well, the following year, a buddy of mine that lives in Hawaii, I guided him here in a hunt in New Mexico and we just hit it off. And he has a piece of property in Maui. And so, he told me, he goes, hey man, I want you to give away a hunt in Maui. I'll take him hunting. And so he freaking gave away an access deer hunt, fully guided to go hunt. And so that really sparked it. And then now I have, tons of companies. I had to turn them away this year because it's so much work to try to organize and to enter in these things and to give them the respect that's due to say, hey, thank you, Whitney, for giving us a 1 week, training or whatever, 2 month training program, whatever it is. So then I want to make sure you get, some some time to say, hey, she's doing this. Let's give her a shout out. And so it's just so busy, and that's when Hunt Expo is, and that's when I'm getting ready for all the other, things. So it's I had to limit. That's what it boils down to. I had to limit how many prizes I could give away. But it's the coolest thing. I just have people reaching out all the time. I already have stuff for next year that have been called. Hey, when are you going to start collecting? Well, I'll hold on to it for a while. Okay, so that we already have like a $400 gift card to Cabela's. It's like, dude, they're waiting to give. Like they're lining up to give us stuff, which is freaking cool. So it's still the same too. It doesn't cost you anything. You just follow along and do something cool for somebody, man. That's it. And it goes a really. Oh, that's why Brandon. Okay, cool. That's now I remember. So Brandon, him and I had a conversation a couple months ago, and he's like, "Hey man, I just wanted to run something by you and let you know something cool that I heard today." And he said, "I was talking with this group of people, and somebody brought up the random acts of kindness, and two people in the room had heard about it and participated in it, and so they referred to you as a random acts of kindness guy. They didn't know your name. They didn't mention the Bow Hitch. And then I came in and connected and, oh, yeah, that's Armando from the Bow Hitch. And they're like, yeah, that's the dude. Like, that's so cool. But he's like, it's bigger than Bow Hitch. It's bigger than Simply Savage Solutions. It's bigger than you think it is right now. Like, you're making an impact, and it's really cool. So I want you to know that. So the Random Acts is so badass, and I get love for it all the time. And it's really, really cool because it doesn't cost you anything to be kind to somebody.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's incredible. And yeah, this was the first year that I had caught it. And just to kind of see the things that people would say, the things people are
Yeah.
doing. And, like you said, that has like a ripple effect, right? And whether or not the person who commented, whatever they did something kind for whoever else, that person may not even be involved in hunting in the outdoors or whatever, but hopefully that person goes on to do something else. And I think there's just so much that comes from like, I don't know. I think inherently most people want to help others, but the reason that stops, or be kind to others, the reason that stops is when your ego gets in the way, and you feel like your ego is going to be hurt depending on the response, or if it doesn't actually help them, or whatever. And to be able to highlight something like that, and just say, hey, like just go out and do something nice to someone today. Go out and do something kind for someone today. Go out and help someone today. Like that's something that's so freaking small to do and takes no effort and takes no thought and no time just to go out and do something kind for somebody. But like it's lost. Like to just show up for people, to just be kind. Like I think we're all living, and maybe even it's cool that you started this during COVID, because I think COVID is kind of what exacerbated the flip side of that.
For
So
sure,
we're
for
all in
sure.
our own little worlds now, and we're all doing things for ourselves, and we're living for ourselves, and we want to be our best self, which is cool. But I don't think that we can truly, and I say this like from the bottom of my heart, I don't think we can be our best self without the help of other people. There's a
Yeah.
phrase that is like, if you want to go if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I like could not agree with that more because yeah, you can get places really fast on your own, but you're not going to last very long if you don't have other people that are there to help you. And you get people to help you by being kind to them, by being nice to them, by being open and being inviting. And I think what you're doing there is really cool, and it's cool to know and hear that it's grown so much. It started with just
Yeah,
like here's this one item to now you have people who are like, I want to just throw things at you and I want to be involved. And like you said, that's completely unrelated to Bow Hitch. Like it has absolutely nothing to do with
nothing.
that. Obviously, you are the person who runs Bow Hitch, but like you didn't do this in an attempt to grow your business. You didn't do this in an attempt to get more people to buy a Bow Hitch. Completely unrelated. And like you said, these people had no clue who you even were, like what you did.
Nothing.
There,
Yeah.
there was this really cool random acts of kindness that I saw on Instagram, and I think that speaks volumes to what you're doing. I think that's really cool there.
Yeah, thank you. It's really neat. Like I look forward to every January. Some of the stories will make you cry, like and the impact that it has, like the prizes, like God works, in mysterious ways and he does what he does, and it's just really cool to see like some of the prizes have gone to people that maybe they didn't know they needed, they needed it, but like transformative. Like the first form package 2 years ago got sent to this guy, and him and his wife and their entire family have changed their entire lives and are working out and are eating clean and are helping out the kids in the neighborhood. And, like this one thing, he goes, I never could have, and now he's an ambassador for First Form. Dude, it's insane. Like, and there's a
Yeah.
bunch of these little things that people needed, that this is providing that opportunity. And it's a random generator. It pulls random numbers, so it's not me, like it's just freaking cool. The guy who won the bow the first year shot his first elk with that bow.
Cool.
Oh, dude, it's yeah. Oh, cheers, everything. Like it's just it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's really really cool.
Yeah.
Um, it's neat.
I love to hear that. And
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully I can be involved in some way this year because I think what you're doing is incredible there. But we are coming up on the end here. I ask all of my guests at the end of the episode, what does wild strength mean to you? Or what comes to your mind when you think of wild strength?
Well, like everything is a mental game.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're as strong as our mind is going to allow us to be. So you have whatever strength you want inside of you. It's already there. You just have to let it out. Like you could be a savage, you could be a silent savage. You're still a savage. Like I tell my kids, kill them with kindness. Like you're a bad mother. You know what? But you don't have to. You don't have to let anybody know that. Okay. When it's time to shine, you shine. So that's, I would say, like, I'm going to bring it back to my favorite quote ever, and that I tell people all the time and it applies in so many ways, like new hunter, new trainer, old trainer, like whatever, in any aspect of life, for you to have confidence in yourself, like you are a savage, but with that strength, comes responsibility. So the quote is, I'm better than no man, and I am second to no man. And that's really the way I try to live my life, is like, hey man, who gives a shit that you have a business that doesn't make any money? Like, congratulations, you like, that doesn't mean anything, cool, you're at the top of the food chain in the fire department. It doesn't matter. Like, you know, I'm better than nobody. Like when a rookie comes in, you need to treat him the same way as when the chief walks in, And when I walk into a room and I got to present in the mayor's office or whatever, hey, this is the case we're working on. This is what's happening. I don't walk in intimidated, and that's what, I think that wild strength really could boil down to, and that better than no man, second to no man. Walk into any room and treat everybody in there with respect. You walk into a room with people who you think are more qualified or above you, and you walk in as an equal. You're like, fuck you guys. Like I deserve to be here. Like we're gonna dance. Like let's go. So I think I got something special in that name, and I think it's a pretty easy correlation in between the two of being wild and strong.
Yeah. I love that answer, and that quote is really good. I'm gonna kind of keep that one because that's kind of how I always say. What is it like fake it till you make it kind of thing. Like if I just continue to show, and I don't want to be fake, right? I don't necessarily
Yeah.
mean being fake, but I'm going to continue to show up and like act like I know what I'm doing in a room of people who know more than me. And I think that's even a really good way to learn things. And just to
Yeah.
kind of like pick up on things. So I think that's really good. Where can people find you if they have questions, if they want to buy a bow hitch, if they want to participate in random acts of kindness? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so our random acts of kindness runs for the entire month of January. So, we're at the Bow Hitch, is our handle on Instagram and Facebook. Thebowhitch.com is our website. Just a heads up, we will be changing that over to Simply Savage Solutions here within the next, probably 6 months. That's the name of our company, is Simply Savage Solutions. When we started, we only had one product that was called the Bow Hitch, but we're diversified our portfolio, so we're having to go back to Simply Savage. So if you guys see that, please don't get confused. That is us. And then my personal, if you guys don't want to hit me up on the business account, is AKA the People's Champ. So uh, please reach out, questions, comments, whatever. Like we're learning, we're growing. I don't know a whole lot, but if you think I know something that can help you, hit me up.